On this week's episode, it's our tribute to Siskel and Ebert as we pick the Oscars, the future for female superhero movies, and what is Infinity War doing? And what is Infinity War? And what is Infinity War doing? Moving up a week. Moving up a week. Do I get a tinny sound? Hold on. And what is Infinity War moving up a week? And what is Infinity War doing moving up a week? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back for another episode of the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly want to thank you for sticking around and stopping by and checking us out here on the show. And it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. He is the man, the myth, the legend behind Humanica Media. And you want to check out all the great things on humanicamedia.com or their great channels today on YouTube, Podbean, and Apple Podcasts. It's Josh Peterson. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, man. I was going to tell you, I picked up the Ready Player One novel last week.
You said you were thinking about it.
Yeah, and like I've been reading it, and this is the first time, like, you know, when you're a kid and you discover books for the first time, and you're like, yeah, maybe not. I like this. I don't know. And you find a good book series and you just kind of like fall into it. And you're like, I just want to keep turning these pages. That's how it is with Ready Player One. That's the first time I've been like enthralled with a book world, and probably since I was in like the third grade. So it's a great read.
I told you it was. I had a chance to read it last year, and it really got me back into reading books again, as far as reading that. And then I was reading the Bill Hodges trilogy from Stephen King, and now I'm on the Disaster Artist. So it's some really good reading there. But yes, definitely it is a great book, and I highly recommend people checking it out before they go see the movie later this month. It is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Josh, I know there's going to be some differences you and I are definitely going to see already when it comes to the movie. I know there's some added characters already that I've seen in the trailers that I know are not in the book. Plus, obviously, as I've said before, they're obviously going to modernize it and make it more palatable for audiences generalistically out there in the way that they treat the pop culture references so that they're more receptible by a larger audience.
Yeah, and well, because if you look at the book, I mean, I don't think it's treading into spoiler territory, but most of the stuff in the book revolve around the 80s. Like it's
Yeah.
not it's a very specific time in the 80s. It's not like the beginning of the 80s. It's like the late 80s. And that's
There's some mid the 80s and even some references to a couple things in the 70s, but yeah, most of it covers that 85 to 90 era.
yeah, and the music, the video games and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I could see, because you're kind of limiting your market by keeping it all 80s references, but it's going to be a fun throwback still, I think, for that generation that goes to see the movie. And it's going to be good for the new generation because you got your Overwatch Master Chief. I'm excited to see the Iron Giant in there. That's going to be interesting.
And Hello Kitty is really going out there because not only is she in not only is she in the Ant-Man and the Wasp, but she's also in Ready Player One as well. And that's a great thing to see for all those pop culture fanatics out there. Lord of the Rings, Starsky and Hutch, all these great pop culture icons from 70s, 80s, 90s, and today are all represented there. Back to the Future and more. So definitely we're excited to see that movie come about. Obviously, there's going to be some changes taking place, but Ernest Cline is heavily involved with the film, and I cannot wait to see it later this month. And we will be definitely talking more about that in the coming weeks as a date for Ready Player One. But if you are a fan of pop culture like Josh and I are, you definitely want to check out Ready Player One when it hits later this month. But for right now, on this episode, we're going to be talking a lot of other great movies today as we go ahead and in our special tribute to the way Siskel and Ebert used to do it back in the 90s. Speaking of which, back in the day, they used to do shows and episodes if we pick the Oscars. Well, today we're going to take a little bit from that and say for some of the categories that we're going to go over, if we pick the Oscars in those categories, we're going to go over all the major categories as far as Best Picture, Director, Actors and Actresses, and also as well, we're going to take a look at a couple other the categories as well. Plus, we've also got Rob McCallum, of course, standing by in the Cosmic Crossfire. He's going to be talking some great pop culture subjects. And later on in the broadcast, we've got Nutty Nuchis from the Nutty Bites podcast. She is also going to be stepping into the show. She's also going to be coming on to the show and talking about with me some female superhero movies coming up and her expectations and her hopes for those films as well. It's going to be a great episode, and also some changes in the Marvel schedule that you need to be apprised of. Infinity War is coming a little bit earlier than we thought, and we're going to talk about why that is later on in the episode as well. But first, Josh, again, like I said, as a tribute to the late Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, gosh, can't get that right. Roger Ebert, I want to go ahead and go through a few categories for this Oscars 2018 when it comes around in a few days here. And it's coming this Sunday, this weekend. All the big stars will be there, and some of the greatest films of last year are going to be on display and in several categories and whatnot. And you and I are going to go and break down some of these with our thoughts on what films we think will win and what films we think should win in each of those categories. So let's start off with, well, which one of the major ones do you want to start off with? Because we're going to go through Best Picture, Director, Actors and Actresses, Original Screenplay, Adapted Screenplay, and Animated Feature. So where do you want to start off with, my friend? I'll let you start.
I'm going to be honest with you. Some of these, like, I haven't seen many of these. So, there's going to be times when one's going to win by default just because it's the only one I've seen in these categories.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can go off the category realm if that's the case. If there's one that stands out that you saw last year that you think is going to be that you think is better in that category, a better fit in that category, then, by all means, give that away as well. So what, pray tell, is it going to be your first category you want to start off with?
Let's just start from the top.
All right. Well, then that's going to be the big bad boy itself. It's going to be Best Picture. Best Picture, and the nominees are Call Me by Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. So, Josh, your thoughts on what movie will win, coming up, and what movie do you think should win as far as Best Picture is concerned?
Okay, so I feel like Get Out or Lady Bird is going to be like the ones that get picked by people, but I think that The Shape of Water should be, considered. But you know how I feel about Blade Runner 2049? I think that's the best movie that came out last year. So that is my nomination for Best Picture. I'm going off the cusp here and jumping into a little sci-fi classic, soon to be classic, called Blade Runner 2049 for Best Picture.
As am I. Blade Runner 2049 was the best picture of the year last year in our estimation. I can't agree with you more. But if I had to pick one of those candidates that I think will win, I'm going to probably go along with you. I think Get Out, of that list, I think Get Out should be the winner of that. There's also 3 Billboards. I know that's got a lot of let's say momentum behind it, and a lot of other people are also shooting for Lady Bird. But I really think Get Out, of of that group should be the one that's going to be pulling out the victory in that. Although you and I both know that Blade Runner 2049 should be the actual winner overall. Let's go to the next one. That is Best Director. We've got Christopher Nolan in Dunkirk, Jordan Peele, Get Out, Greta Gerwig in Lady Bird, Paul Thomas Anderson in Phantom Thread, and Guillermo del Toro in The Shape of Water. My friend, I know you're a Del Toro fan. I know you also liked, like we said, Blade Runner 2049 with Denis Villeneuve, but who's not in it this time. But I know Guillermo del Toro has always spoken to you with his films. What is your favorite right now going in?
I wanna say, yeah, Guillermo del Toro. The sad thing is I'm pretty sure that Get Out and Lady Bird are gonna walk away with the majority of the awards, though, and that's, for obvious reasons, but, like, it's just that's the way the cookie's gonna crumble this year, I think, but I definitely would, if I were basing this on skill and art style, I would say Guillermo del Toro deserves Best Director.
I'm going to have to agree with you. I think Del Toro will pull it out. I also think that Denis Villeneuve maybe didn't get obviously nominated because of the length of the film. I know there was a lot of issues with Blade Runner 2049's length. I know
For
that was
real, though, I would love to see that 6-hour cut that's mythologically floating around somewhere.
as would I. You know, a Blade Runner has so many cuts. I would love to see it too. But that being said, I think Guillermo del Toro does have enough people in Hollywood rooting for him. And you and I both know that sometimes sentimentality comes into play when it comes to the Oscars are concerned. I really think for Jordan Peele, his time has not yet come yet, even though I think that Get Out is going to be the best picture. I really don't think it's going to go 2 for 2. I think it's actually going to be 1 for 2. And I would say if of the two would be best picture. And I think Guillermo del Toro will be the one who comes out on top with the best director is concerned. Coming up now will be the category for actress in a leading role. And that's actress in a leading role, actress in a leading role. And first off, we've got Sally Hawkins from The Shape of Water, Frances McDormand from Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Margot Robbie and I, Tonya, Saoirse Ronan, she's a star of Lady Bird, and Meryl Streep from The Post, who you and I both know. I tell you what, is an incredible actress, but she is usually, she gets nominated every single year, so I don't think she's going to pull it out. I have a feeling it's going to be, in my opinion, Saoirse Ronan. Saoirse Ronan. I think I've got the name finally right from Lady Bird. I think she was the reason why you want to watch Lady Bird. Her and also as well, Laurie Metcalf was to me, the main reason why Lady Bird was so magnificent. Lady Bird, to me, had a little bit of issues here and there, keeping it from being the best picture of the year last year, but definitely their relationship is not one of them. I think her performance is outstanding, and she's my favorite to win the actress in the leading role.
I wanna say Margot Robbie because I did see I, Tonya, and she has range for an actress, like, she's all over the place, and, like, she makes it look so easy when she does it, and, like, especially if you see her in something like Suicide Squad, and then you watch her in something like this, she has a lot of depth to her acting skills, and I would love to see her win for that. I didn't see Lady Bird or The Post. If I had to pick between Margot Robbie and Sally Hawkins, I'd say Margot Robbie.
So Margot Robbie is playing Tanya Harding in I, Tanya. That's Josh's choice for that pick. Coming up next is actor in a leading role, and best actor nominees are Timothée Chalamet for Call Me by Your Name, Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread, Daniel Kaluuya, Daniel Kaluuya for Get Out, Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour, and Denzel Washington for Roman J. Israel Esquire. Daniel Day-Lewis is supposedly his last performance. Denzel Washington, he's such a brilliant actor, and like Meryl Streep gets so many nominations because of sheer brilliance, even in movies that are not exactly well thought of. Daniel uh, Daniel Kaluuya Daniel Kaluuya is simply brilliant in Get Out, and he is the main reason to watch Get Out because he has such a great performance in it. But I kind of think Gary Oldman in Darkest Hour is going to pull it out for his transformation in the role, and I really think he's going to do he's going to pull it out this year because again, sentimentality, but also like almost like a lifetime achievement award that they often give out at these awards. So definitely think that Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour is going to be coming out on top for the leading actor role. What's your thoughts, Josh?
I was just about to agree with you. He went to some crazy depths for that part, and like he was almost completely like he's basically Daniel Day-Lewis on crack for that part. Like he just immersed himself in that character, and he was amazing. Like that's all I can think to say.
Yeah, I just think that Gary Oldman is going to get appreciation the by the majority of the Academy voters out there for all of his great performances. Anybody sees True Romance or any one of his other great performances can definitely agree with that statement of how great an actor he is for all the great work he's done. So like I said, our pick is like we said, our pick is Gary Oldman for The Darkest Hour to be the victor coming out on top. We have next we have actress in a supporting role, and we have Mary J. Blige in Madbound, Allison Janney in I, Tonya, Leslie Manville in Phantom Thread, Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird, Octavia Spencer in The Shape of Water. This one's kind of a tricky one for me. I think Laurie Metcalf and Allison Janney play kind of similar similar roles as both are playing that motherly types that they don't always get along with Tanya Harding, and also as well, I mean, that don't always get along with the character with Margot Robbie's character, and also Saoirse Ronan's character in Lady Bird. So I'm going to probably go a little bit outside the box. I'm going to go Octavia Spencer for Shape of Water. What's your thoughts on Best Supporting Actress?
Yeah, I'd probably go with Octavia Spencer. I mean, I don't No, I mean, I honestly, like, when you ask me about, like, supporting roles, like, I don't ever really think about that's something I should think about when I go to see movies, but I don't really think about it that much, so I don't really.
I kind of lay of importance on it because often, to me, I look for supporting actress because sometimes, as in the case of as in the case of Black Panther with Michael B. Jordan, he took a supporting role and actually made it his own and actually supplanted often what Chadwick Boseman was doing. Oftentimes, a supporting actor can actually supersede everything else that's being on screen and just totally command the screen, and people watching it.
Yeah, no, that's true. I guess when I go to see movies, I need to, like, focus on that a little more.
Fair enough, indeed. And then next we've got the best actor in a supporting role, and best actor in a supporting role nominees are Willem Dafoe, Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, Woody Harrelson, Woody Harrelson for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Richard Jenkins for The Shape of Water, Christopher Plummer for All the Money in the World, and Sam Rockwell also for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. My personal opinion, I think Christopher Plummer, after what happened with Kevin Spacey and his downfall, and Christopher Plummer actually having to take over the role on such short notice and doing such a fine job with it, I actually think that he is the leading candidate. And I think people are going to be, Oscar voters are going to be very, again, sentimentality is going to come into play here and are going to go ahead and reward, I think he's 88 years old, uh, reward the 88-year-old actor for his performance on such short notice. because Ridley Scott had to, reshoot all the screens, reshoot all the scenes for the film, just with that contained Kevin Spacey in it, and put him out so that they could go ahead and put Christopher Plummer in it and do it within what, less than 2 months notice, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was a quick turnaround. I remember there's a big debate over how much each person was getting paid for the reshoots because I guess what's his name, Colin Farrell got paid a whole.
No, Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg, yeah.
Mark Wahlberg got paid $2 million extra, and Michelle Williams, I think scale was like about $1,500 or something like that, and she donated. They ended up both donating it, all their money for it, because after everybody found out what Wahlberg got. So, what's your thoughts? Who's your choice? Who's your pick for that category?
All right, so my pick is we're on actor, right?
Supporting actor.
Supporting actor, yeah. Sam Rockwell, man. Like I think he's one of Hollywood's most underappreciated actors, and he just kind of has a way of pulling you into every part that he does. Like Iron Man 2, you hated him, like he made you hate him. He's good at that. But there's other movies like The Way Back where he has this way of like making you not only love his character but love the characters that he loves. So I've always been a huge fan of Sam Rockwell, and I think he deserves an Oscar.
He had a fine performance in that movie, and I'll tell you what, it would be well deserved. But I think Christopher Plummer, with such short notice, I think he did a fine job in the film, and I think his efforts will be rewarded with an Oscar, in my opinion, for this time around. Once again, we are talking about Oscars 2018. If we pick the Oscars, so far we've been mostly staying within the realm of the actual categories, although we did, pick one outside the box when it comes to Best Picture. Original screenplay: The Big Sick, Get Out, Lady Bird, The Shape of Water, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. What to you is the best original screenplay? For me, I think it's Get Out. You, sir, I want to hear your thoughts on what you thought the best original screenplay was for 2017.
I think The Big Sick was a good one. Did you see that? That was I think, how do you pronounce the guy's name? Kumail Nanjiani.
Yes, Kamal Nanjiani. I did see it. I'm not in love with it as much as you are. It just fell outside my top 10. Just fell outside my top 10. I didn't like it as much because I thought, to be successful comedians, I really think you actually had to be kind of funny on screen. And for them they weren't exactly successful. They were struggling comedians, but mind you, to even, think of the idea of going to New York from Chicago, you have to actually be somewhat funny. And not once was any of the comedians at all funny, interesting, or even worth a laugh. I can go to Vegas here and see 10, 15, 20 other comedians that are infinitely more funny. And I believe most of those are regular comedians in real life. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Which made it even more depressing because the lines that they were speaking weren't even funny.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I just thought that the story was good. I wasn't expecting to like laugh, find it hilarious or anything. I thought this.
Well, I will say the actual story itself was good. And actually, when Ray Romano and what's her name? What's her name? Where she plays Elastigirl. And Ray Romano and I'll have to look it up. Holly Hunter, that's right. Okay. When Ray Romano and Holly Hunter came on the screen, they provided a uniquely awesome dynamic, which totally picked up the film for me and made it worth watching, and it made it enjoyable for the rest of the film. And that's why I put it so close to my top 10, was their performance, and also obviously the the hit or miss love story as well. I thought that was great the way they played it out throughout the entire film. Just the comedian part I could have done without it because it really wasn't that good if that part of it. But so you pick the Big Sick for original screenplay. I pick Get Out. I think either of those films are good choices for best original screenplay. Now we get into best adapted screenplay. And best adapted screenplay nominees for this time around are Call Me by Your Name, The Disaster Artist, Logan, Molly's Game, and Mudbound. And seeing how I believe this may be the only nomination, I believe, for the movie, I think The Disaster Artist, which is actually one of the best films of last year, in my opinion. And I think because of the troubles that James Franco had, as it got closer to the cutoff line for Academy voters, and all the accusations and innuendos and whatnot. That's why he wasn't put on the best actor or the best picture list. But I do think The Disaster Artist is the best adapted screenplay from that beat, although it barely beats out, in my opinion, Logan. Tell me your thoughts and exactly what you think the best adapted screenplay is.
Logan. Logan is, oh, it was, they did a great job of adapting that, the Old Man Logan comic book. And it's, it's rare that you see a comic book film break into like I guess its own niche, or into like a noir territory without being like overly cheesy. But like this was a, they did a great job. Like if it wasn't based on a comic book, you probably would still be able to watch it with the same excitement that you'd be able to watch it knowing that it is based on a comic book.
I agree with you. It was an excellent film and one of my top 10 as well of last year. I think it narrowly gets beaten out by The Disaster Artist for best adapted screenplay. Although, if either wins, I wouldn't be surprised. And actually, I think would be very, very welcomed on this show as far as if it did so, if either did so. Last but not least, we've got animated feature, and the best animated feature, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but The Boss Baby, The Breadwinner, Coco, Ferdinand, and Loving Vincent. Two of these films do not have any, by all, two of these films should not be in there, but all right, we won't even talk about that. Coco was a beautiful movie to watch and another great win for Pixar. I think there's just, it's hands down just Coco. I thought the movie was a great inspiration, one of my top 10 films of the year, and also as well a great movie for his that the Hispanic community can also rally around as well. Your thoughts on best animated movie, and please don't say Boss Baby.
No, I hated Boss Baby. No, I love Coco. Like, and it's not just, I don't think it's a movie made just for like the Hispanic community. I think the moral of the movie is important for everybody. Like family is everything. Like it's incredibly important. And I know a lot of people don't have the luxury of that, but like it's great. Like, and it's true. Like what it makes you wonder, like what are you going to do that people are going to remember you for when you leave, or are you just going to kind of fade into nothing? So it's just, when I was watching it made me wonder like what it is that I mean to people, and that was kind of a weird introspection for me. But yeah, Coco was a very beautiful film. It was very well done. It was written amazingly, and had great morals, and it's been a long time since we've seen a movie like that.
I think you're right. It does have a strong meaning and a strong message about family and the importance of it. And I definitely agree with you on that. And like I said, and like you said, it's not just for the Hispanic community, but for everyone out there to take a good message from. So that's why we both think Coco is the best animated feature for 2018. A couple more thoughts. I think Blade Runner 2049, it should win for cinematography. My gosh, that movie was so gorgeous to look at. I think, is it Richard or Robert Deakins? who has been nominated several times and has yet to win, Richard Deakins, I believe it is, that he should get the nod this time around. I think there's a lot of people in Hollywood pushing for that. And visual effects, let's see if we can get Blade Runner 2049 one more as well. How about that? Or do you want Star Wars The Last Jedi or Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 to win that out on visual effects?
Do you know what I want Star Wars The Last Jedi to win? Absolutely nothing. If it
Tell
were
us
up to me,
tell us how you really feel.
if it were up to me, Blade Runner 2049 would win every award on this ballot.
Yeah, it's just an incredible movie, and I'm so sorry to see it not there. I thought it was going to be really the first sci-fi film to really, since 2001: A Space Odyssey, 2001: A Space Odyssey, to really connect from a critical realm so much that it might actually get an Oscar. Although 2001: A Space Odyssey, I think, was also shunned as well, but definitely was hoping for that. Unfortunately, didn't come to fruition.
I think Baby Driver should win Best Sound Editing though, because that was actually a really good. Had a lot of really good. I mean, the music really did make the movie, but
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It actually is. It's integral to the actual plot moving forward. Correct.
right, right. It's it is a plot device, and that's something you don't see a lot of. You know, Blade Runner sound was important. There's a lot of wah, but you know, Baby Driver, it kind of brought the movie to life, and I think that's a rare. That's kind of a rare feat.
So Blade Runner 2049 in almost every category it should win. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. But those are our choices for some of the major categories that are out there that are going to be announced this Sunday at the Academy Awards. What are your thoughts on the Academy Awards? Who should win? Who should be there? Was there any snubs that you think are better than the nominees that were announced? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. It's going to be a great show that we have for you today. We've got Rob McCallum standing by in the Cosmic Crossfire. And then a little later on, we've got Nutty Nukchus from the Nutty Bites podcast. She's going to be stopping by as well, talking about superhero films that really need female superhero films coming up that she's really excited about, that we're both excited about, actually. And we talk a little bit more about that later in the episode. Plus, also as well, Infinity War has moved up in North America up a week. Josh and I talk about why at the back end of this show. Got to stay tuned for that and a whole lot more coming up. Because this is the PCC Multiverse. I think I'll throw a Wreck-It Ralph. And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with the PCC Multiverse. My name is Joe Glass from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. I want to thank you so much for being part of the broadcast here today. Before we get into where you can find our shows, the PCC Multiverse and the Pop Culture Cosmos show, Josh, what you got cooking out there on your great experience known as Humanica Media?
New episode of the Super BS Games cast literally just dropped like 10 minutes ago, so you can download that now. New What About This is coming at you on Monday nights. There's also a new Topicocalypse just released last night. And also we have the Attack of the Humanicans show on Tuesdays on the Podcast Radio Network.
That's right. That's 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on the Podcast Radio Network. We are on Mondays and Fridays on the Podcast Radio Network, and our total lineup, because we're now streaming 7 days a week on online radio. On Sundays, we're on Good Talk Radio. Also, as well, on Sundays on Airwave. Is it there? Yeah. Also on Sundays, we're on Airwave Radio out of the UK. We cannot thank them enough for being part of their radio experience as well. On Mondays, again, it's the Podcast Radio Network. Also as well, Croc Radio, our good friends in Canada out there. And of course, Great Cloud Radio as well. 3 great networks were on Monday night. On Tuesday, it's the Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting Network. Awesome. If you catch us there, we truly appreciate it. Wednesday as well. Wednesday, we've got Great Cloud Radio. Thursday, we're back on Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting. Friday, we're on the Podcast Radio Network, Great Cloud Radio, and also Croc Radio again. And on Saturday, we're back on the awesome Great Cloud Radio as well. We truly appreciate everyone out there that listens to us on streaming radio. But if you want to download our shows each and every time, you can download our shows at any point in time on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, the ESO Network, Tangibound Network, Gunny Geek Network, and over 20 different podcasting options. And if you do download the show, Josh's show, Topicocalypse, talking shows on television which you need to watch, which you may not be watching. That's a great episode, and that's going to be on the back end for those downloading the program. Speaking of TV shows, I just put up an article on our site, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com, talking about The Alienist and how you should binge it. And if you haven't got a chance, you need to check out that show. It's available on TNT, or go to TNT.com on the Alienist page, and you can stream back episodes there as well. Josh and I will be talking more about shows you need to binge. I know Josh is thinking of some as we speak, and I know also as well the ladies from the Wine Women of Words and our friends at the TV Ratings Guide are all going to come up with articles we're going to post here at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com and also on TVRatingsGuide.com. We're going to share our thoughts on shows you need to binge out there and binge them. You need to binge watch out there and check them out. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay. Josh, speaking of stuff you need to check out, have you checked out the latest Wreck-It Ralph 2 trailer where he actually breaks the internet?
No, I was gonna actually watch that earlier today and I forgot. I just let me tell you this though, like I watched the first one and I liked it and I thought they wrapped it up nicely, but no time after the movie ended was I like, I want to invest myself more in the mythology of this movie. I want to know more about what happens next. That's just, I
It seemed very self-contained, did it not?
yeah, it did. And when I heard about the sequel, I was like, cool, that's cool, good for them making another one. I just don't know how invested in it I am.
And I feel the same. And I feel the same way because it is just a movie that I kind of like to see, but I don't really want or have to see. I don't think it's a must-see by any stretch of the imagination. I kind of liked the first film. I thought it was cool. I went to theaters and saw it, enjoyed it. But like you said, it was very self-contained and it didn't necessitate a sequel. And I didn't think it was going to bring out a sequel because it didn't make a whole lot of money at the box office. It wasn't a huge box office hit, but you know what? It is back. It is Wreck-It Ralph 2. Ralph breaks the internet. I did get a chance to see the trailer. It's pretty good. It's pretty enjoyable, but it does have some cool pop culture, arcade game, and retro gaming references in its actual trailer. But I don't know if it's something I'm going to go out of my way to see, but around that time, come November, it might be one that we might want to check out, but we're kind of on the fence about it. So it's something that maybe we will or we will not see, but we'll talk more about that in the months to come forward. But right now, it's something that we're on the fence about, and I think a lot of people are too. It's not something that people are across social media or whatnot are saying, "Oh man, check this out! Oh, we got to see it! I cannot wait until it comes out." It's something that might be cool to check out during the Thanksgiving holiday season, but it doesn't seem to be a priority with audiences out there, at least not yet. What are your thoughts on a Wreck-It Ralph 2, a sequel to the very good but pretty much self-containing Wreck-It Ralph? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. When we come back, we've got Nutty Nukchis from the Nutty Bites podcast. She's going to be stopping by talking about female superhero movies that we're excited about. We're going to talk a few about what's going on the Marvel scene and maybe a little bit of DC as well. But we'll talk to her about that as far as female superhero movies. And coming up right after that, and speaking of superhero movies, coming up right after that, Josh and I are going to talk about our thoughts on Avengers Infinity War moving up a week in the North American market. What does this mean, and how and why is it so important to pop culture fans out there? We'll share our thoughts on that. We'll share our thoughts on that and a whole lot more coming up right after the break. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We want to thank you for stopping by with my good friend Josh Peterson right here of Humanica Media. Josh, before we get into our last topic, I want to thank so much Nutty Nukchis from the Nutty Bites podcast. Appreciate her coming on the show, talking female empowerment and also great female superhero films coming up. Plus also as well, my good friend Rob McCallum stopping by in the Cosmic Crossfire. You got to check out robmccallumfilms.com and all the great stuff, including the Kitty documentary, Box Art the documentary, Box Art the docuseries, and a whole lot more coming very soon from my good friend Rob McCallum. Josh, Infinity War is officially in North America, moving up a week to April 27th. This changes the dynamic as far as what went on in the movie world, where it was always, for the past few years, nothing. You could pretty much count death, taxes, and Marvel putting out a movie the first week of May. So what happened with that, and why do you think they're now going ahead and moving it up a week to actually be in line with everywhere else around the world with the opening of Avengers Infinity War?
Well, wasn't it Robert Downey Jr. Called them out on that, didn't he? And then they were like, they moved it because of some kind of tweet he made or something.
Well, he intimated that, but you gotta Disney or Marvel's not going to make a decision like that just because Robert Downey Jr. tweets out he'd like to have something cool done for his birthday.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I could have waited till May because that's when, if I remember correctly, Captain America came out in May. So did Thor.
Yeah, Marvel movies on the first weekend of May has been, for at least for the past few years, pretty much a rite of passage. But it is now. I know the film will be released internationally in and around April 27th. So it looks like maybe they're matching up all around the world to get those news clippings and maybe those great things that they're going to say about how well it's performing, so that they can blast that all around the world.
Yeah, well, it's a good time to do something like that because while Black Panther's big like this, sorry, this is huge. Like the Avengers Infinity War, this is huge. This is the culmination of everything that we've been following for the past 10 years. So this is, if they're going to pull some kind of stunt like that, this is definitely the movie to do it on. And, I more power to them. I think that's awesome. I'm stoked to see this movie 2 weeks earlier.
And remember, our countdown to Infinity War will continue a week earlier. So the last week of March, you'll start hearing us again talk about the movies that lead up to Infinity War as well. Got to remember that, because we were planning on April. Now it moves up a week because of that. I also think that they're giving more space to their own film, Solo, which will be coming out on Memorial Day weekend, and not having it overcrowded with a film that just came out just 3 weeks prior in Infinity War. They're giving it another week to give some space so that movie can succeed on its own initiative. Plus, also as well, Deadpool comes right in the middle of that, a week before Solo does. So maybe spacing it out a little bit so that people won't get superheroed out too quickly with Deadpool on one side and Infinity War on the other.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Did you happen to see there's a meme going around for, one of those Black Panther memes. One of them had a guy on there, he's a Mexican guy, and he was saying that, "You guys at least you guys have a cool superhero. When they tried to make a movie for us, they gave us Nacho Libre." Did you
That's bad. It's actually funny, but that's
Yeah,
actually.
no, it's bad, but, yeah, man, no, I'm all for, seeing Infinity War early. It's and I sorry, I get it. Disney owns so many major properties now, and they need they need space in between these things. Because you had asked me last week how I think Black Panther is gonna continue to do, and I was predicting that's gonna do well flowing right into Infinity War, but, I didn't think about how jam-packed May already is for as far as superhero or, just big flicks in general go, so, um yeah, no, I totally get why they're doing it, and Solo needs all the help it can get, though, because they did a very poor job with the marketing of that film, and I don't know if it goes to show you, like, if maybe Disney doesn't have a lot of faith in what they're trying to do, but, it needs the help, and I'm stoked to see it, but, like, Avengers: Infinity War, man, that's awesome, good for them. I'm excited to see it.
I will say that I am one of the few that really enjoy the Solo trailer. I really enjoy the music and the background of it. I really think it's kind of like a cool con man heist type drama with a whole bunch of con artists getting involved with each other and grouping up to pull off one great heist. But I understand where a lot of people are coming from that are not exactly thrilled with the trailer and not exactly thrilled with the way they've marketed it. Some of it's off by necessity because they had to reshoot a major portion of the film, if not all of it. But some of it also, as well, is just Disney just holding off on presenting Solo and keeping us in limbo whether or not it was going to be delayed or not. But that being as it may, I know you got a chance on Twitter to see the actual listing of a lot of the films being readjusted by Disney and Marvel or Pixar or even their own, there even other movies outside of that realm that they are currently producing or currently making. Some of them were kicked out entirely, some of them were rearranged, but it was funny just to see unnamed Marvel film, unnamed Disney film, unnamed Pixar film move from this date to this date and see all that shuffling go around. It was just kind of interesting to see how they're moving all these big pictures upcoming all around for the next 2-3 years. Correct? 2-3 years.
Yeah, you know why? Because they're trying to space themselves so far away from Hurricane Heist because they don't wanna lose those billions of dollars that that movie is going to make.
Oh, yeah, exactly, exactly. It's a lot like the monster truck movie that was last year that came out. I remember that. Yeah. So
No, what this it kinda shows that Disney doesn't really they're banking heavily on Marvel properties, and they don't it seems to me, like, I don't know about you, but when I was reading that list, it seems like they don't have a lot of faith in their own movies, like,
I agree with you. I
as
agree with
far
you
as
wholeheartedly.
yeah, the live action and animated Disney movies, all of those are being moved, and the fact that Mulan is getting pushed back 2 years, that goes to show, like, they're not prepared or they're afraid of how it's going to do. They've taken a lot of chances. I think they were relying heavily on A Wrinkle in Time doing well, but I don't think A Wrinkle in Time is really being that well received by critics.
I really think it's also not being pushed very well at all marketing wise. I think it's getting blown over by the success of Black Panther and people looking at Infinity War. And I really think it's going to get swept under the rug. I think it's this year's Tomorrowland for Disney. I really think it's something that unfortunately is not going to be pushed very well. And this harkens back to the time before really that they had Marvel or that they had Star Wars when I know you and I have talked about this before, John Carter, when that was an issue because they really didn't have, they had these properties, they had these films that they wanted to do something more with, but ended up really not doing as well as their expectations. So they just basically tossed it aside. Now you
Because
see something on their list, like Nicole. We were both wondering what Nicole was. Well, that's actually been just thrown off the list entirely. But I can't agree with you more on Wrinkle in Time being something that may be just coming out to do very poorly and just going straight to home video.
do you know what the problem is too, though, is that Disney has some amazing properties, especially when it comes to, like, old novels, Pulp Fiction novels and stuff like that. They don't pay the source material any respect. They'll take it all and try to combine it into something, then they'll jumble the story, and it just makes people upset, and it doesn't end up working very well for them. It's like they haven't learned their lesson time and time again. And also, like, I kind of wondered about this back when they first purchased, Star Wars and Marvel, if this was eventually going to happen where they're gonna have so many properties and so many movies being released that it's going to start overshadowing some of their own stuff, and they're gonna start overlapping, and movies are gonna start losing money because something bigger is coming out in front of that one.
I agree with you. And films like A Wrinkle in Time, Mulan, maybe even Mary Poppins coming out later this year could be affected. The Nutcracker, I believe, is a Disney film as well, if I remember correct.
Yes, yeah, that one was slated for, December, I think?
Yeah, and that's all. And with Wreck-It Ralph 2, with Wreck-It Ralph 2 coming off the heels right off that. So they're bunching all these films together, and it like you said, only the big fish are look like they're going to be surviving, and smaller fish within the Disney house, and a lot of that's some of their original live action stuff or their adaptations of them, like A Wrinkle in Time, Wreck-It Ralph 2, The Nutcracker, Mary Poppins, could all be adversely affected from it because people just want to see Star Wars and Disney all the time. Star Wars, Disney, and Pixar all the time. So definitely something to think about there. But Infinity War is moving up a week, like we said, possibly to give some space for Solo to succeed, or maybe even just to make sure that they have those nice press clippings that they did hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars as expected worldwide, and obviously not too far away from it being $1 billion movie sometime very soon. But hey, pop culture, we love it, man. Superhero movies coming even sooner, and like you said, this is the culmination of all that we've seen over the years, and it's definitely cool that it's actually coming a little bit sooner than we expected. What are your thoughts on Infinity War moving up a week for the North American market? Do you like it? Did you want to actually keep it on the first weekend of May like tradition has held over the past few years for Marvel films? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. Josh, thanks for being on, my friend, as always. But do you have any last thoughts as we head on out?
I do not. Read Ready Player One. That's all I can say. I'm excited to jump back into this book as soon as we're done talking here.
Definitely. And when you are done with it, definitely want to talk to you about that. And also, as well, when we see the film, we're going to talk a lot about the differences between the book and the film and whether we liked it or not. So, for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day right here in paradise, here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.